Well, today, listeners, I'd like to welcome Chris Adams. And Chris is the Chief Executive Officer of Rochen, a ISP and host based in the UK, in fact based in Dundee. And Rochen kindly provides support for Joomla by providing hosting for us. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Hey Peter, thanks for having me.
It's great to have you here, mate. I mean, I had the pleasure of meeting you at the Linux Awards in London, where you guys were nominated. Can you tell me which category it is? Because I know it's a long one.
Yeah, it's a rather long title, I would say. I think it was the best web host, best open source / Linux web host / ISP in the UK. And as you say, I had the pleasure of meeting yourself as well as Andrew Eady, the project director for Joomla, Alex, and many other members of the core team. I also had the pleasure of having dinner with Andrew and Alex at the award ceremony. So yeah, it was a very interesting evening getting to meet everyone involved with Joomla. And although we didn't win our award, we were just happy to be announced as a finalist, because it was actually our first time at an event like that.
Well, you had some pretty stiff competition there. I mean, they were big brands, weren't they?
We did. We were up against sort of a few pretty big providers in our category. And I mean, Rochen is a growing business, but we were still a very small provider, so it was just fantastic to be sort of acknowledged there. And it was great to see that Joomla won the award in their category, and also obviously Brian Tiemann won the sort of personal / individual contribution to the Linux community.
So just sort of going through some history, have you had much connection with open source software in your business life, or is Joomla sort of the first thing you've been involved with?
Well, I mean, we use open source software extensively for our entire sort of business operation. I mean, all of our web servers use some sort of flavor of Linux. We run Fedora, CentOS. We also use various Red Hat distributions on our servers. We use basically a mix of proprietary and open source software. We basically have the philosophy of going whatever is best for the job, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. So obviously some of the open source software is definitely up to speed compared to commercial alternatives.
Oh, absolutely. And our project we used to be involved with in the past was we used to provide hosting services for the YAB SE project, which is now extinct and being replaced by Simple Machines.
Yep.
So we used to be very actively involved with that. We still have close connections with a lot of the guys at Simple Machines. I mean, I keep in touch with Jeff and Joseph, their project directors, fairly often, and I met David, who's another one of their project directors, out in Chicago last June when I was attending hosting convention at their meeting with some of our suppliers and things, and David also happened to be along there representing Simple Machines.
Yeah.
So it was great to meet up with that group there.
Well, it's been really robust as a forum for us, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, as you say, it's run on the Joomla site, which we provide hosting services for, and we've never sort of had any major problems with it. Their developers have always been very helpful with sort of resolving any issues that have come up. And as I say, there's not been any major dramas with it.
Well, Brad, who manages the forums, he also does some work with you guys. He's sold on it. He sings its praises a lot, actually.
Yeah, I have to say, Brad, who's obviously a member of our staff, as you say, he's also in the core team for Joomla. Brad sings praises about Simple Machines ever since it's been deployed on the Joomla site. We actually use vBuilt in our customer forums, as many of our customers who may be listening to this podcast will know, and Brad has vocally said on several occasions that he thinks we should migrate our own forums over to Simple Machines.
Sounds like a big job to me.
It does, yeah.
Yeah. So, you're based in Dundee?
I am, yeah. I'm based in Dundee. We also have another member of our staff who is based around this area over in, near St Andrews. But we also have staff throughout the US, Canada, and Australia as well.
Yeah.
So as far as our staffing operation goes, it's our global operation. It allows us to provide sort of 24-hour customer support without sort of support technicians having to be awake at crazy hours in the morning. So our support centre follows the sun, so to speak.
So can you describe Dundee for us? I know, well, it's in Scotland.
Well, to be honest with you, certain parts of Dundee and Dundee itself have a fairly poor reputation amongst sort of our fellow cities in the UK. Although where I live is just outside Dundee in Broughty Ferry.
Yeah.
It's a very nice area. Dundee has a population of about 150,000.
Yeah.
So it's a fairly small city. Winston Churchill obviously used to be former Prime Minister in the UK. His constituency as an MP was Dundee at one point. So it's our claim to fame.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Winston Churchill, when he was a member of the Liberal Party, used to be MP for Dundee.
I think I was reading on a brochure somewhere that it's got a technology park. Is that right?
It does. Technology Park in Dundee. We were actually considering locating some office space there at one point, but we abandoned that idea eventually.
Yeah.
But anyway, Technology Park in Dundee is a pretty extensive place. A lot of game design goes on there.
Oh.
I'm not sure if you've heard of the game Lemmings.
Yeah.
Lemmings was actually developed as a university project here in Dundee, started by a couple of students. And obviously that company then went on to make other titles. Obviously it was sold before these titles were released, but it's obviously gone on to make Grand Theft Auto and various other titles like that.
Wow, because Lemmings was huge when it first came out, wasn't it?
Yeah, Lemmings was originally a Dundee-based project.
Yeah, the things you learn. So
yeah, I mean, Technology Park's an extensive place. A lot of call centres are based there for sort of BT, Tesco, which is a large supermarket here in the UK.
Yeah.
There's various sorts of things out of Technology Park.
So is that an initiative by your local government there, or is it EU money, European Union money?
To be honest with you, I'm not just sure, but I believe it's sort of a mix of both, between sort of regional development grants and some sort of EU money, I guess, as well.
Yeah.
But there's certainly a lot of companies are located here, at least sort of have call centre operations and that sort of thing.
Well, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, in a business like yours, you can virtually operate from anywhere. And
yeah, I mean that's very true. I mean, apart from our physical presence at various data centres around the world where we have our servers located, we can basically have any of our staff work from anywhere with the correct credentials. They can get into our network and work away. And this also sort of adds value back to our customers by cutting overheads for our operation, where many of our competitors sort of have fancy office space. We can get rid of all that. We put all that money back into the product development and provide sort of an overall better service to our customers.
It's great. It's really great. The concept of people being able to work remotely, it wasn't that long ago. It was a dream. I mean, it's all happened in the last probably 5 years that it's really, really happened, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the uptake of broadbands and sort of a lot of things that have happened in the open source community have all sort of helped that.
Yeah. Now, Chris, you got involved with us when we split from Mambo and set up the Open Source Matters site. And about the 1st of September was, well, exactly the 1st of September at midnight GMT, the site for Joomla and the new version was announced. And you were watching the service. Can you tell us a bit about what happened?
Sure. I mean, we expected a lot of traffic to Joomla, simply based on the popularity of Mambo before and sort of community following that it had. And we expected, quite rightly, that the community would follow the core development team. So we obviously expected a lot of traffic, but we didn't expect surges like we saw. At the peak, we were probably tracking upwards of 1,000 simultaneous users hitting the Joomla / Open Source Matters sites.
At once?
Yep, all at the same time. we're tracking probably around between 6 and 10 megabit of concurrent network flow from the Joomla server. So yeah, there was a serious amount of traffic.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Is that? Have you seen that sort of traffic before? Or do you have anything that big on yours?
We've not seen overall. I mean, if you judge it on a monthly basis based on average hits to the site, Joomla's probably between the second and third largest site we host. But we've not seen a instant surge like that. I mean, that's probably the sort of largest traffic surge we've experienced from a single site on our network.
Okay. So what sort of numbers are we talking? And has there been growth that you can see?
Well, I actually got some stats here for you before we came on air at our systems administrator's compiles. And in September 2005, when Joomla first launched, we were tracking just under 25 million hits for the month of September. That's to the main Joomla site. That doesn't include the sort of community forums or anything like that. Just to put that into perspective, in January 2006, we're tracking sort of just under 40 million hits just to the main Joomla site.
So those people that were saying that it would be a 1 month wonder, it's not the case, is it?
Yeah, I mean, those people who said that, Joomla would be sort of a phase, people would sort of try it out and then move back to Mambo. It's simply not the case based on these traffic stats. I mean, between the launch of the project and now, the traffic to the Joomla site has basically doubled. Between the forums, if you include the forums and the main Joomla site, we track about just over 60 million hits per month.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a serious amount of traffic.
Yeah. Well, let me say thanks again for providing our hosting.
Oh, no problem at all. And I mean, I should probably say this as well. One of the main reasons we wanted to get so closely involved with Joomla Project, obviously we had members of staff, including Brad, involved with Mambo beforehand, but one of the main reasons we wanted to sort of get involved was a lot of our customers. We host several thousand Joomla websites, obviously including the main Joomla.org site, but we have many customers who use Mambo beforehand. And if Mambo were to suddenly sort of disappear, or the project was going to deteriorate, then that would seriously affect our customers' businesses.
Yeah.
So we wanted to sort of obviously protect them, and we want to obviously see this project sort of carry on in a reasonable state. And obviously Joomla was formed, and a lot of our customers have converted over to it.
So, in terms of some of the issues I've seen on the forums, so I've seen some people who are on shared hosting where their ISP has said something along the lines of it's making too many calls to the database, and so therefore we don't want you on our server. What does that actually mean to you? What are they saying?
Basically, in a shared hosting environment, you'll obviously get a certain amount of bandwidth and a certain amount of disk space assigned to your hosting plan.
Yeah.
But in a shared hosting environment, you also have to take into account that there's a shared server, and there's only a certain amount of system resources assigned to that server. What I mean by system resources is RAM, CPU. So obviously we cannot allow a single user on that server, on that shared server, to use sort of the entire amount of system resources available. That would simply monopolize resources, and
everyone else would suffer.
Exactly, it would impact service to everyone else. So in that sort of situation, we would ask the user to move over to a dedicated server with us, and then that would allow them to have the full run of that server. I mean, obviously the Joomla site's pretty big, so that's obviously running on a pretty powerful dual Optron dedicated server in one of our racks in Atlanta, Georgia. But yeah, I mean, if your site's popular, it will eventually outgrow a shared hosting environment.
So you're able to help the person who's got a site that grows like that from a shared environment where they're paying a certain amount, and say their business model explodes and they've all of a sudden got a lot of traffic. Can you help them move from that shared environment to a dedicated server?
Sure. I mean, we have systems in place where we can actually migrate a site or a series of sites from a shared hosting plan to a dedicated server without sort of any downtime being being experienced by the customer, and we can just copy their files and databases and whatever directly securely over the network from the shared server to their dedicated server.
And for, say, web developers who want to perhaps expand their horizons and maybe do a bit of reselling of hosting, can you look after those guys too, the same way?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, one of the key products we offer is our reseller hosting, and last year we introduced our premium reseller hosting plans. I won't turn this into an info commercial, but
no, it's interesting. No, it's interesting stuff because I mean, some people go out there and when they get started, they'll buy a domain and buy some hosting, and buy a domain and buy some hosting, and if they've got 10 sites, even for personal use, it makes more sense to sign up as a reseller, and then they may find that it's a working business model for them to actually host for their friends and businesses that they're doing work for.
Yeah, I mean, our reseller plans are very, very popular, especially with sort of web design and development companies, because they can buy the reseller package from us. They can carve that package up however they see fit, and then they can sort of host all of their client sites that they design inside that one package.
Yeah.
And just to go back to the dedicated servers, obviously, if they outgrow that reseller package, then we can move their entire reseller package, including all the sites hosted under it, over to a managed dedicated server with us, without any downtime. I think that's another important point to point about our managed dedicated server products. We completely proactively manage the service. For example, if the server goes down at 4 a.m., we don't need the customer to come to us and say, hey, my server's down, you guys, can you please take a look at this? We will just, our monitoring will immediately alert us to that, and so we can go and fix the problem. I mean, for example, if the Joomla site were to go down, we don't need a member of the core development team to come to us and say, hey, the Joomla site's down. Our monitoring will alert us to that, and we can immediately get the site back up. I mean, that's one of the main differences between the managed dedicated servers that we offer and, say, a budget dedicated server provider where you need to sort of manage the entire server environment and monitoring and all this sort of stuff yourself. And
scream at people if there's a major hardware failure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, even a hardware failure, we'll work on that, and also all the hardware we offer is under full guarantee.
Oh, that's great. And what about backing up stuff? Do you guys have backups of your servers?
Yeah, I mean, we have different backup plans depending on what specific package you purchase with us, but it's taking our sort of premium line of packages, which start about $11 a month. We'll back up your site once a night to a secondary drive in that server. Your data is also mirrored across a RAID array on that server, so it's backed up in real time in addition to the nightly backup. And we'll also take, twice weekly, we'll take off-site backups, so the data is stored at a completely different data center. So basically there's 3 levels of security as far as your data is concerned, and at any one time we'll hold 5 different backups of your data from sort of different periods in time, just in case something happens to your site, and then we can go and get that backup restored for you. In
terms of what Rochen's doing, are you able to share what you're hoping to do down under? Because I'm an Australian. Can you share that, or is that a secret?
No, it's not a major secret. Basically, we're going to be launching our services down in Australia soon. Basically, just going to be offering exactly the same product lineup as we have at the moment, but we're going to be targeting the marketing more towards the Australian market. We're going to be selling in Australian dollars.
Yep.
And to sort of celebrate that launch, we've secured a lot of prime advertising spots in various large Australian sort of technology and business magazines. I mean, we're going to be running a few full-page advertisements in a few of those magazines, starting with the May edition of APC magazine.
Australian Personal Computing.
That's correct, yeah.
Well, we were in that.
Yeah, they did a feature on Joomla in their March edition.
Yeah.
I believe that's a readership of about 250,000. So even if we get sort of 1% return or even less on our advertisement, then that'll be fantastic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Aussies, the Australian market, it's been 4 years since I lived there, but the Australian market seems to be sort of dominated by the big players, and it's possibly something that should go quite well for you. I hope it does.
That's true. I mean, one of the main problems with the Australian market at the moment is most of the big telecom providers have a huge monopoly over the market, and so they can get away with providing shoddy customer service. So we hope to be able to go in there and show them how it's done.
All right. Well, any Aussie Joomla lovers, you want to support Rochen, keep an eye out for when's the launch date for this, Chris?
We don't actually have any fixed launch date at the moment.
Yeah.
The website will be www.rochen.com.au.
Oh, you got the .au domain.
We do. We've got all these sort of big domains registered. We've got all our sort of intellectual property tied up there.
Oh, brilliant.
So this has been we've actually owned those domains since early last year when we started working on this sort of Australian venture. But yeah, I mean, people can expect to see the Rochen Australian sort of site up and running within the next month or so, I would expect.
Okay, does that mean a trip to Oz for you?
It may well do.
Yeah.
We will see.
Catch up with Brad.
I'm actually got a pretty busy schedule this year. I mean, I'm off to Dallas, Atlanta, and Las Vegas within the next few months. So we'll see how all of that goes. Maybe make it down to Australia at some point.
Yeah, it's a long trip, mate.
It is. Yeah.
So are these technology-related trips that you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, we prefer to, although we are an internet business, we prefer to maintain close working relationships with all the suppliers we work with.
Yeah.
So we try and meet up with all of our sort of key suppliers once a year or so. So we're going out to one of the big data centers we use is the Planet in Dallas, Texas. So we're going to meet with those guys, sit down with their management so we can discuss there. Going to visit one of the other data centers we use at Atlanta, Georgia. And then the big hosting convention, which happens once a year, and the first one that occurred was last year in Chicago. It's been held at the Mirage Resort and Casino in Las Vegas, July this year. So we're going on to represent Rochen there. See how that goes.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so things are looking very positive this year. We've got a lot of new exciting things on the horizon for our existing and potentially new customers. So yeah, there's a lot to be looking forward to.
Well, Chris, thanks very much for sharing all that with us, and again, from myself personally and from the core team and from the community, thank you for what you're doing for Joomla. We really appreciate that.
No problem at all. Very nice speaking to you, Peter.
Okay, cheerio.
Bye for now.
You can check out Rochen hosting at www.rochen.com. And as Chris mentioned on the show, soon to be launched in Australia, so it'll be a .com.au. Listeners, apologies for Andrew Eddy, who we promoted on the last show, not being available. Andrew's suffering from a bit of the flu and his voice wasn't up to scratch, so Chris graciously stepped in and helped us out for this week's podcast. So again, Chris, thanks, and we tip our hats to you for what you're doing for us. Next week, if Andrew's not available, we've got something a little bit interesting again with a musician. So look out for that. It's got some really good tips on how to maximise Joomla for marketing your band. So if you're into music and you're looking for a way to market yourself with a website, and Joomla's the way, according to the interview we've got for next week. So looking forward to that. Cheers, everyone.
Ow, I just fell down the stairs.
Please hang up and try again.